Welcome. It's your man, God of Dots, back with another episode of the Audible. Hope everybody's having a good day. Hope everybody has had a good week up until this point. As always, how you doing, Miss Murph? Yeah, I'm trying to get in and out because I'm trying to get back to the other space, But I set up a show. I try to be consistent. Some folks don't like that, but I try to be consistent with the work. All right, so has some housekeeping. I'm still debating whether or not I'm going to do a Freestyle Friday show over here tomorrow. I'm working on trying to get some topics together if I do a show. But if I set it up, it will be around 7:30, 8 o'clock ish, like we normally do when we do a Freestyle Friday. But yeah, we're gonna be you know some other stuff I'm working on. Other stuff I'm working on. Your brother's got a busy weekend coming up. But with all that being said, let's kind of dive into the week 10 action. Week 10 preview is today. Let me get into the mood just for a second, y'all. All right. We're gonna start with tonight's game. Be honest with you, this is not must see TV. I get it. Everybody's got to have a prime time game on their schedule. And I know this matchup looked intriguing at the beginning of the season. We were talking about potential of these teams. And the game I'm talking about is tonight. Panthers and Bears with a kickoff at 8:15. Yeah. I thought the Panthers would be a much better team based on the defense. I knew Bryce Young was going to have his struggles as a rookie, but I thought this Carolina team was going to be playing much better than they have been thus far this season. And the Bears continue to be a mess. I'm not sure if Fields has been cleared to play. Another team that's a mess. Like I said, this is not must see TV. It's no much other than watching excuse me, Bryce Young maybe. This is not must see TV, but I get it. Everybody's got to have a prime time ish game, and when you kind of look at the schedule, um, it's not very attractive as far as some of the big games. But hey, I'm all here for good football, even though some of these games don't look like must see TV now. May end up being must see TV when the games are played. But tonight, yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm just gonna have to catch the highlights. I'm just gonna have to catch the highlights. Nothing about this Panthers Bears matchup is intriguing to me now. I had high hopes for Justin Field progression, and with injuries and some of the play calling, it just has not manifested. Bryce Young has had his own struggles. Like I said, I thought Carolina would be a much better team, especially at this point of the season, but it's just not happened. So for me, this is not, it's not like a great defensive battles. This is not it. This is not it. And I understand, the NFL has what they call a flex schedule. Excuse me for a second. They have a flex schedule where they try to put later on in the season, they try to put some of the bigger games in some of the more prime time positions. But I mean, seriously, when I look at the schedule, you mean to tell me this is the best you could do with the flex schedule being in place? I get you want to say some of these games for the bigger market, bigger viewership on Sunday, but you mean to tell me you couldn't give me? I'm just gonna scroll down here. You couldn't give me maybe Commanders, Seahawks, or maybe. Um, Jets, Raiders. It's if you're gonna give me a throwaway game, just why are you giving me the worst throwaway game you could possibly give me? So I'm not gonna go too much into this. I do have the Bears winning. Just Carolina has not done. They've underperformed. My expectations coming so far this season, and this is not must see. Yeah, it's football. I may peek in, but trust me, I'm not glued to the TV. Now, there's a couple matchups I will be glued to the TV for. I will not be glued to the early Sunday morning game, another international game, Colts and Patriots. The reports are coming out more of Bill Belichick possibly being his last season, maybe his last ride, hopefully. He's had a conversation with Robert Kraft, decides to retire gracefully, ends out his career on a high note. But had this been any other coach without the pedigree of a Bill Belichick, with the way that this team has struggled since Tom Brady has left, they'd have been out the door. And you can't lay the blame on anybody else for how the Patriots are constructed, because Bill Belichick is responsible for coaching the team. He's responsible for hiring coordinators, putting them in a position to be successful, and he's also responsible for being the GM. He is the one that is picking these players, bringing these guys in, dishing out these contracts and free agency. He made some very questionable re-signings. Um, he's just lost the touch, and I hate to. But each year, I hate to say this, but each year we get away from Tom Brady and Bill Belichick is still coaching. You realize how important you have transcendent players, how important that is to a coach's success. He just, the formula doesn't work when you don't have that player, especially at the quarterback position. It doesn't work. It doesn't work when you have a transcendent player at the quarterback position, the most important position on the field. It elevates the play of players that will be considered less than. But yeah, this is not a game that is must see TV with me, especially with Anthony Richardson kind of being out. If I had to lean, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna have to go Colts on this one. I think Colts playing a little bit better. When that's not saying a lot, I got Colts in this one over the Patriots. Sunday, the early games is a couple good matchups. It's a couple good matchups. First good matchup I'm seeing, Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore Ravens, who in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, are currently the best team in the NFL. I know the Philadelphia Eagles have the best record, but I think when you look at the tape, when you look at the film, when you look at what the teams are doing and how they're trending, Baltimore right now is playing the best football on both sides of the ball right now. So, but they're going up against a very stout, very talented Cleveland Browns defense. Now, as always, with the AFC North, with just any division games, those games tend to be a lot closer. I do think Cleveland's defense has the ability to give Lamar Jackson some problems. Lamar Jackson, who right now is my midseason MVP, they have the ability to give him some problems, but Deshaun Watson, for me, is going to be the X factor. How does he play? He had a pretty good outing last week, but you're playing against a much more talented team in regards to the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore has a very underrated defense. I don't know, like I said, Baltimore is just not. They're kind of like under the radar for me, but they're when I watch them, especially over the start of this season, they're the best team in the NFL to me. So with Baltimore being at home, I'm gonna have to go home team. But would it shock me if Cleveland were to go on the road and pick up a win in Baltimore? No, it would not, because as much as I rave about the Ravens, I talk just as highly, almost as highly, about the Cleveland Browns and the potential that this team has to be, in the conversation when we're talking about playoff teams. They have the defense, they have the talent on the defensive side of the ball. The question mark for Cleveland from this point forward, going throughout the rest of the season, is how well Deshaun Watson plays. You've already established that, hey, this team can still run the ball even without Nick Chubb, who went out with an injury at the beginning of the season. Kareem Hunt, what's the guy's name? I forgot his first name. Last name is Ford. But they've done a great job running the ball. But Deshaun Watson's been in and out of the lineup. He's not looked very good at the times he's been in the lineup, with the exception of last week's game. Deshaun Watson is the X factor in this one. I think Lamar is going to do what Lamar does. He's going to be productive. I'm not sure if he's going to have crazy stats, because this is a very good Cleveland defense. This is not a defense that just lets you run up and down the field, big chunk plays and yards like that. So, this is one of those must-see TV games for me. Like, I get it's a short week. I wish I could be watching this game tonight, but hey, Bears and Panthers, yay. Moving on to some of the early Sunday games. Yeah, Packers, Steelers at home. Packers. It's kind of hard to get a good read on how good Green Bay is. The defense has Kept them in every game, win or lose, have kept them in every game thus far this season. But the offense is just not been consistent enough to where I feel comfortable picking them against some of the more talented and more consistent teams. Is this something? I don't know what it is. Maybe they have some roster improvements. Maturity of Jordan Love in the pocket. Maybe, but I'm gonna have to go Steelers, but I don't feel 100% safe in saying that just because Pittsburgh, despite having a winning record, I think they're 5-3 right now. Offense has looked, downright dismal and horrible at different points this season. Kenny Pickett, who I thought was going to take the next step forward in his progression as a quarterback, seems to have kind of regressed. When you measure it up against the expectations I have for him coming to the season, my head says pick the Steelers. They're at home, but something about Green Bay, like I said, their defense has kept them in a lot of games, and I think this defense. I'm gonna go Packers. I'm gonna go Packers over Steelers just because I think Green Bay's defense will be able to take advantage of the mistakes that Pittsburgh's offense routinely makes. And this is one of those. It's going to be an ugly game. I don't think this is going to be beautiful offensive football. I may be wrong, but in my opinion, based on how these teams have played offensively thus far this season, I don't see it happening in this matchup. It's going to be one of those ugly games. But I got Packers. I got Packers on the road. I think Jordan Love does just enough more than Kenny Pickett to pick up the win. I think he does just enough to pick up the win. So I'm going Packers on the road with this one. Very intriguing matchup. If I had to kind of break down the schedule coming up, this is probably the game of the week. The game of the week, 1 o'clock kickoff on Sunday. I'm talking about 49ers and Jaguars. Jaguars currently tied for second in the AFC as far as records are concerned. Only 2 losses on the season. Jacksonville, I've picked against them a couple times this season. They've made fools out of me, time and time again. 49ers coming off a bye week, but also coming off 3 straight losses. At one point this season, we were talking about San Francisco being the best team in NFL. Right now, you can't really put them in that conversation based off the last 3 games in which they lost, and they didn't look good in those losses. But this is probably the game of the week. Jacksonville is at home. This is Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville is going to be up for this one. This is what we would like to call a statement game. These are the games in which you find out what your team is really made of. Every team has those games on their schedule to where you kind of like measure where you are in regards to the best teams in the elite in the NFL. Jacksonville, this is probably the toughest matchup in my opinion thus far this season. I think San Francisco is going to come in motivated. Like I said, they've had a week off, licked their wounds a little bit. I think Shanahan is a good enough coach to have his team prepared come Sunday. And as much as it, sticks in my craw, and I know I've been hard on Jacksonville, but if I'm going to pick a team, how you doing, Dr. Nick? If I'm going to pick a team, I think San Francisco gets this one. I think San Francisco coming off the bye, losing 3 straight games, and in various facets have going to take the time during the time off, clean it up. I got 49ers, but it would have surprised me if Jacksonville wins. No, Jacksonville has played very good football. Jacksonville has been one of those under the radar teams. They're not a sexy pick. They don't play a sexy style of football. I think if Jacksonville is able to get the running game going with ETN, makes life easier for Trevor Lawrence. But we'll see. We'll see. It's a very intriguing matchup. Jacksonville has a very underrated defense. 49ers, can they get back on track? Can they get back looking like they were the first 5 weeks of the season? We'll see. We'll see. Was it for real or was it a mirage? You had a 5-game win streak, and then you had a 3-game losing streak. So we're going to see what San Francisco looks like coming out the gate. But I got 49ers in a very entertaining game, very entertaining matchup. I think it'll be close. I think it'll come down to who makes the most mistakes. And when I'm talking about mistakes as far as I think penalties will be a big factor. And I hate to say that about NFL officiating, but I think penalties will be a very big factor. This is, most eyes will be watching this game. I think most eyes around the nation will be watching this game. You have two of the better teams in the NFL, especially at this point of the season. And I'm not mad if you pick Jacksonville. I haven't been on the Jacksonville bandwagon the whole season. And, I mean, you can take Jags, Doc. You can take Jags. I got Niners. I got Niners. I think it'll be a very good game, very entertaining game. Another entertaining game with a 1 o'clock kickoff. You have the Bengals and the Texans. Texans are a very surprising team thus far this season. CJ Stroud, unless he falls off a cliff, is got my vote for offensive rookie of the year. It has not looked like a rookie. Now I've been seeing talk in certain spaces talking about CJ Stroud already a top 10 quarterback. Pump your brakes. Pump your brakes. He's looking good as a rookie. He's playing well. The team is playing, in my opinion, above their head right now. When you consider some of the preseason predictions for this team, top 10, slow down. I like CJ Stroud. I like CJ Stroud back at Ohio State. Thing is, you're playing against a very, very good, very talented, very poised Cincinnati team at home. Cincinnati, who I think has kind of found their mojo. They're starting to look like the team that a lot of people pick coming into this season. I know Cincinnati was not my Super Bowl pick, but I saw different reports on different websites. Cincinnati was the preseason pick to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl, and they're starting to get into a groove, and that is a dangerous thing for the rest of the AFC, because Cincinnati, they can play with anybody when they're clicking. It's a hard team to stop. The defense is starting to round into the shape that they were late last season. Joe Burrow is starting to look healthy. Chase is doing his thing now. You do have an injury, and a notable injury. T. Higgins will supposedly be out for this game, so that changes life a little bit for Cincinnati. But this is a Cincinnati team with three talented. I know Jamar Chase is the name, but T. Higgins is a very good number 2, and Tyler Boyd on most teams could be a number 2, but he's a number 3 in Cincinnati. I got Cincinnati in this one. I think it'll be a very good game, very entertaining game. I think the Texans will play hard. I think CJ Stroud will be okay. I don't see CJ Stroud lighting up for the yardage that he did last week. So I got Cincinnati. I got Cincinnati at home in this one. Also with 1 o'clock kickoff, you have Saints and Vikings. I didn't have this one circled on my calendar. Especially when Kirk Cousins went down, I kind of wrote off Minnesota, but Minnesota looks like Joshua Dobbs is the man for the job for the moment. And I think Justin Jefferson is due to return soon. Maybe get him in this week. If not, he'll be back next week. This is when you kind of break it down. Joshua Dobbs had a very good performance. Especially coming in cold, not knowing the offense like that, being traded midweek, but being forced to start and perform and let the team on the game winning drive. The Saints have kind of been up and down. For me, Derek Carr is what Derek Carr is. The defense has faltered at times. This is going to be, I would rather have this game tonight than. I'm sorry if you are a Bears or Panthers fan. I'm sorry, but this is not must see. This is not a game you would put on Thursday night in the primetime spot. I'm sorry, it's just not. But hey, it is what it is. And this one, Vikings at home. I got Vikings. I think Joshua Dobbs, coming in, on a short week, coming in with a new team and being able to perform at the level. Not to say that he's a great player, but Dobbs has had an okay season thus far this year, even though he was in a losing situation out there at Arizona. He's had a pretty good year, all things considered, and you get him on a team with a little bit more talent. I think he'll be a little bit more successful. Derek Carr, just can't trust him. Just can't. I just can't trust Derek Carr. Derek Carr is just not. It's not giving me those vibes that I feel like betting on him on a weekly basis. He's it's been like that when he was with the Raiders, and it's continued like that with the Saints. The Saints have an opportunity to run away with this division. When we look at the talent that they have compared to their rivals in that division, they should be far and above the rest. But they're in a dog fight right now. I think they're in second place right now. Like, or they may be in first, but I gotta check. They gotta check. But I think they've underperformed this season. Give me a sec, y'all. Give me a sec. What other games we have? Is any? Because this is kind of a weird week. A lot of teams are on by. Um, Finishing off the 1 o'clock kickoff times, you have Titans Buccaneers. Will Levis has, coaching staff came out. The team announced that Will Levis will be the starter for the remainder of the season, health permitting. I think that's the best move for Tennessee. Go ahead and turn the chapter on the Ryan Tannehill era. Tannehill is kind of like Derek Carr. They can only get you so far. Those kind of guys can only get you so far. I think Tennessee with a late season push could be looking at a wild card. A wild card position. I like how Will Levis at quarterback there. DeAndre Hopkins has looked, like the old DeAndre Hopkins. He's returned back to form. I think anytime you have a Derrick Henry on your team and he's healthy, you have a chance for the run game to be dominant, which, makes it easier for the defense because they don't have to spend so much time on the field. And Buccaneers, you can kind of put them in that same boat. This is a team that, in my opinion, has kind of overachieved thus far this season. Baker Mayfield has done a okay job, but he's reminds me of the Tannehill and Derek Carr. I just can't put faith in him like that. I feel confident picking him going into a game. He's not had a bad season, but it's been a Baker Mayfield type ish season, like middle of the road, middle of the pack. He's just a guy. Just a guy. Like in the great words of Shannon Sharpe, he's a jag, just a guy. I mean, I got Titans. I'm not going to go too much into it. I think Will Levis continues to play well for a rookie. And I think, leaning on Derrick Henry, having a good run game, having the threat of a run game makes life very much easier for a rookie quarterback. So I got the Titans. I got the Titans in this one. Moving on to the 4 o'clock games. It's only 4. Like I said, it's going to kind of a weird week. A lot of teams are on bye. You have Falcons, Cardinals. I'm picking Falcons in this one. This for the simple fact Tyler Heinicke is now the starter, I think. But the question I do have for Falcons fans, what the hell are y'all doing with Bijan Robinson? What the hell? I heard a part of a press conference, the head coach talk about, having Bijan on the field is such a dangerous thing. It causes it causes the defense to have to adjust. But you're using them like a decoy. I'm not understanding the plan you have out there, Atlanta, for in regards to Bijan Robinson. You drafted this guy in the first round, and those of you that kind of keep up with the draft and stuff like that, it's very rare when teams are spending, and we're talking about top 10 draft capital on running backs and not using them. I don't know what it is. Maybe he's not studying the game tape enough. He's not putting enough time in the film room. Like, obviously when he gets the ball, he's electric with the ball. I do like Algier as a running back, but he's not special like Bijan. And when you draft a guy that high, I mean, I was expecting him to get a whole lot more carries than he's gotten. But kind of keep it focused on the game. You do have the return of Kyler Murray. I'm not sure what that looks like. I haven't seen any tape. Last time he was seen was last season, so I'm not sure will Kyler be able to move. They don't really have any big time weapons out there for him to kind of work with and lean on. So in that case, Arizona's been kind of a dump team this year. I got Falcons. Kind of keep it short and simple. You have Commanders and Seahawks. Seahawks coming off against smoke by Baltimore. Commanders have been kind of up and down, but mostly down this season. Sam Howell has played okay. Geno Smith has played okay. I'm gonna lean towards Seahawks in this one because they're the home team. I think they have the opportunity with that crowd noise to get Sam Howell to seeing ghosts and seeing stuff that's not really there. Seattle tends to play better at home for whatever reason. They got crushed against Baltimore, so I think they're gonna come out with a little fire in their belly. Try to erase that taste out of their mouth from getting smoked last week. The Commanders, like I said, they've been kind of up and down. They've been in games, just not been able to finish games. The defense has been kind of hit or miss. Sam Howell's been kind of hit or miss. So for this one, I'm going Seahawks. And this one, the other two 4 o'clock games, you have Lions and Chargers. The Lions right now sitting pretty on top of that division out there in the NFC North. Detroit, that was I need props. I need props. Matter of fact, I'm not gonna. You don't have to give it to me. I'm gonna give it to my. I've been saying it for the past 2 seasons. Detroit is finally making people see what I saw two years ago when I saw what they was kind of putting together there, the kind of players they're putting together there. I think this is a statement game for Detroit. Yeah, Miss Murray, I saw the vision last year. I've been high on Detroit because I saw what they were doing out there. I saw the pieces they were putting together out there, the kind of players they were putting together out there, and I said this team's going to be a problem. And it's coming true. I'm not sure, barring injury, this team possibly could be looking at the number 2 seed in the division. So, but I got Detroit over the Chargers. Though they have talent, just the teams is I don't know what it is. It's they give me a I think this is like a style clash for me. When I really break it down the tape, Detroit plays with so much fire, so much sense of urgency, and you just don't see that from the Chargers enough. Not for consistently for 4 quarters, game after game after game after game. I know what I'm getting with Detroit. Win, lose, or draw, I know those guys are going to play hard. You'll get blown out. I mean, it happens. Teams lose games. But I like when I watch Detroit, I know I'm getting effort from both sides of the ball, from all positions. They've bought into the culture the head coach Dan Campbell has put in place, and Detroit is here. But I think Detroit, depending on how the rest of the season play out, you could be talking about Detroit next season, depending on how a couple moves work out as far as free agency. Could be talking about Detroit being the team to beat next year in the NFC. You heard it here first. A lot of the guys they got there are guys that they drafted. When we're talking about Jamar Gibbs, running back, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Aiden Hutchinson, Brian Branch, and some of those other guys they have on the defensive side of the ball, those guys are homegrown. But they play with a fire, play with a sense of urgency, and for that reason alone, I'm picking them to beat the Chargers. Even though the Chargers are at home, the Chargers are trending towards being a playoff team again this season, but I don't think anybody's willing to bet the mortgage on the Chargers on a week-to-week basis, other than maybe a diehard Chargers fan like that crazy lady they was trying to hype up for a couple weeks. No, I got Detroit. I think Detroit plays with a sense of urgency, realizes just stay. They want to stay in that number 2 position, and kind of like how I kind of set up. I like Detroit to slot into the number 2 position. I think the 49ers will lose another game or two, and I think Detroit is be prime position to be the number 2 seed come playoff time. And speaking of playoffs, you saw the thumbnail. You saw the thumbnail. You got Cowboys and Giants. Now, the Giants are without Daniel Jones for the rest of the season. They are starting some dude, Danny Benito. I don't know who the guy is. I'm not going to take this team lightly because I like how the Giants defense has looked for the past 4 to 5 weeks as far as like trending upwards. I like their defense, but this ain't the game for them. I don't think The Cowboys are going to smoke them like they did in the first matchup this season, but the Cowboys, have to have a sense of urgency. If for no other reason, for the next 3 to 4 weeks until we get that Philly rematch. Philadelphia has a tough stretch of games coming up. Cowboys will be favored in all the games up until that point, so you have an opportunity to possibly be going to that matchup with a 9-3 record. Could possibly be for the division. So I don't think they take the Giants lightly. Even without a Daniel Jones, you still have some talent on the offensive side of the ball in regards to Saquon Barkley. And like I said, the Giants defense is playing much better than they were when we played them the first time. I do like how the Cowboys looked against the Eagles. Hopefully that's continue to be the trend. We got to do something with the running game. We got to do something with the running game. Tony Pollard, I don't know what it is. It has not looked like the same Tony Pollard that I'm traditionally used to seeing. Just doesn't lack that. He doesn't have that burst, to hit the hole. Thing about Tony Pollard was he was never the short yardage kind of guy. He was always the home run hitter, the big play guy. But I hate to say it, I've just not seen that Tony Pollard this season. Like I said, if you caught Tuesday's show, I know I may have upset some Cowboys fans by saying it, but you may be seeing the last ride of Tony Pollard as a Dallas Cowboy at the price tag that they've got him at. Right now, he's playing on the franchise tag. I don't think the team would give him the franchise tag after this season. So you may be looking at Tony Pollard having to come back at a discounted price if he wants to continue to be a Cowboy next year. I'm just saying. He's not it. He's not it. I think you're going to see more Rico Dowdle coming down the stretch. It may be, trying to find a guy on the free agent market, more of a bruiser type back to kind of put into that mix. Tony Pollard ain't it. But for this week's game, I got Cowboys. Over the Giants. I don't think the Giants will be able to put up enough points to really challenge the Cowboys. Now, if it's a sloppy game, if it's one of those games where, turnovers are abound, anything could happen. It is a division game. The Giants going to have some pride about themselves by getting smoked on national TV to start out the season. But I got the boys in this one. And to kind of round up, the Sunday night game, you have Jets and Raiders. Raiders coming off a very emotional win against the Patriots, beating them down. I don't know how long you can ride that emotion to wins. They do have talent out there in Vegas. But it's a lot of talent on the Jet side of the ball too. And for that reason, I think the Raiders kind of come back down to earth. I think the Jets realize, hey, we're not only in a position to possibly make a playoff run, how well or how bad the Bills and Dolphins have been playing as of recent weeks, we may have a chance to kind of sneak back into the conversation for the division. So I do think the Jets come out with more urgency this week and play a lot better than they did last time out. And I think the Jets pick up the win on the road in Vegas. Like I said, Vegas, you rode a win, a lot of emotion, new head coach and all that. But I do think, the Jets kind of put it together and beat y'all on Sunday night. And the Monday night game, coming into the season, like I said, I wasn't going to circle this one. Broncos and Bills. Broncos, it's a hard team to kind of put your finger on because, they've looked bad at points of the season. I'm talking about bad, historically bad. But at other points of the season, this team has looked good. Last reminder I have of the Broncos is their complete shutdown of the Kansas City Chiefs. Will we get a repeat of that? You may see a repeat of that. Josh Allen has not been, quote unquote, one of the preseason MVP candidates that a lot of people hyped him up to be. He has been a turnover machine. This offense has looked out of sorts. Look at Miss Murray. I think Philly would lose. I mean, Philly has a chance to possibly lose all those games between now and that Cowboys match. I mean, those are very losable games. Yeah, I mean, come on, Doctor. Nigga, historically bad. Anytime a team puts up 70 points on you and could have put up more, your team is historically bad. They've looked historically bad during stretches of the season, but at other points of the season, they've looked good. They look good against the Chiefs. That looked like the Broncos defense I was talking about coming into the season. And I think, this is an opportunity, primetime game Monday night. The Broncos, Let's see if the defense can continue that trend they started against Kansas City. Buffalo will keep him in the game because Josh Allen is prone to make mistakes. So Buffalo will keep him in the game. But I'm gonna go Buffalo in this one just because I think Buffalo will come out with a keyword being sense of urgency this week. I think Buffalo realizes, hey, not only we are positioned to not only win the division, if you're looking at what's going on in AFC North, all those teams have winning records. You might be looking at the Buffalo Bills fighting for a playoff spot later on in the season. So this is one of those games. Hey, you're favored to win. You're at home Monday night. You just you need to come out here, take care of business, get back on track, get your season back on track. Because if you mess around and lose this one, we might be having a completely different conversation when we return back here on Tuesday. We might be having a completely different conversation when we're talking about Buffalo. I mean, I had them as one of my tier 1 teams coming to this season. Obviously, I can't put them on that same tier. And Buffalo may be fighting for a playoff spot. Maybe fighting for a playoff spot later on this season. We'll see. We'll see. Let me get my behind up out of here. Thank y'all for coming out and listening to little old me. So no opinion. The Jets offense sucks. Yeah, the offense sucks, but the defense has played well enough to kind of keep them game. And Zach Wilson, I know Zach, it's been a lot of stuff said about Zach Wilson, but I think he's played okay. Do I think Zach Wilson's a franchise quarterback? No, not with the Jets. I think he maybe have a chance to rebuild his career, but he hasn't been he ain't been Desmond Ridder at quarterback. If you want to talk about bad quarterback play, Desmond Ridder was the example when he was starting. I think Zach Wilson has played well enough and kind of kept the team in a lot of those games. I mean, they had a chance to beat the Chiefs. This is a team, the Jets with the defense that they have, when they can get the running game going, can make life a little bit easier for Zach Wilson. The offense it's not going to scare you. Especially with no Aaron Rodgers back there. And speaking of Aaron Rodgers, he's kind of hinting that he may be back before the season is over. We'll see. We'll see. I think if the Jets are out of it and they're not in a position to push for a playoff position, I don't think you see Rodgers back. But you never know. You never know. But Zach Wilson has played okay. He's played okay. He ain't. Desmond Ridder has been the worst. Let's keep it above. Desmond Ridder was the worst starting quarterback you've seen thus far this season, and that's saying a lot. The worst starting quarterback I've seen play this season. The worst. The absolute worst. I don't even think it's close. I don't even think it's close. But I think the Jets, as long as they continue to stay kind of healthy on the defensive side of the ball, that defense will keep him in a lot of games. And Zach Wilson is not killing the team. He's not elevating the team, but he ain't killing the team. So I think the Jets will be okay as long as that defense stays healthy and keeps them in them games. I think Zach Wilson can make enough plays here today to win some of these games. And I have them. I had them beating the Raiders. I think the Raiders are a very beatable team for a Zach Wilson-led offense. It's not like the Raiders' defense is scaring anybody, with the exception of maybe Max Crosby. But it's that secondary can be had. Outside of Max Crosby, that front seven ain't great. But we'll see. Let me get my behind up out of here. We end you guys off with a phrase of pace and Miss Murph. I ain't forgot. When we play y'all again, I got something for you. Hopefully we win, because I got material I've been working on, little videos and stuff. But you flip my slogan. But anyway, let me get my behind up out of here. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But every time you learn. And I'm out.